it seems. Okay, we'll wait a couple of minutes if there's someone already joining. But yeah, I don't really know if I can see. Hi, Toby. If I can see the chats from the different platforms in Restream directly, or if you have to check Twitch and YouTube separately. Does any one of you know this? Maybe one could join the Twitch stream and post something there, and then we.
I have both
okay.
up and running, so I can see them.
That would be great. Okay, yeah. Okay, and you see the Twitch logo and the YouTube logo. Great, thank you. It's
But
Jörg videos. Okay. Oh, and Judy Bear's live.
Yes, this.
I don't know. But it's the very first person that is not part of the team, but he's watching the stream. So congratulations, Judy Bear, and welcome. Okay, so since this is also recorded and people can watch it later, I think we're going to officially start now. So welcome. You can what? Okay. Someone at the door, the right moment. Okay, so my name is Jörg, known as Eiswuchse from Winterworks, and with me I have an always changing group of people who just dropped out. With me I have I have Anna first, of course. Anna, Abdu, Toby, and Stefan. And Stefan is a former colleague of me. Hi, Donita. And the other three are the DCI students that support me at the moment with social media and stuff like that. And they are also the ones responsible that we have a stream right now. And now there's something calling me on my phone. Okay, so, and this is the official Winterworks Wintercast live stream where we're going to talk about stuff that's related to Winterworks, past, present, and future. Sorry. I'll just turn off my phone for the moment.
Yeah, bitte.
Yeah. Silent. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all stuff related to Winterworks, but also stuff related to game development in general or video games in general. Oh, hi. Oh, there's. Okay. Hi, Larissa. Hi, Alia. Nice. Okay. I thought maybe we don't have any visitors, but it seems like we have quite a few. So welcome to the stream. And yeah, so at first, maybe I should start with a little bit of background story on my person and on Winterworks in general. And if any one of you has any questions, I try to take a look at the chat from time to time. If you have any requests or anything you want to talk about, just drop us a line and we can switch the topic if you like. If it gets too boring, before you quit, tell us so we can change the topic. And yeah, so yeah, like I said, my name is Jörg. I work in Germany. I live in Germany, and I've been working in the video game industry for nearly 20 years now. And I started when I was in my early 20s, where I took an apprenticeship at a company and made some general job as an IT engineer or as an IT software developer. But then I quickly switched the company and joined a company called Spielkind back in the days, which was one of the few German companies that created video games for PC and for consoles. And I worked as an employee for several years there until the company was closed. And then I founded a company with some former colleagues called Rough Sea Games, where we created a browser game. This was in 2009, I think. Stefan was with me there as well. Was it 2008 or 2009?
I think 2009.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Basically, it was quite a bit late to jump on that browser game bandwagon. because mobile games were already emerging, but we nevertheless created a browser game, which was a total disaster when it was released. So it was really quickly turned down again and shut off. And then that company was closed as well. And that was the point where I started to think about trying it one more time in the video game industry and work for a company where I'm the only responsible person for everything that's going on. And this was in 2011 then. And that was the birth of Winterworks, if you want to put it like that. The company was then officially created 2012, but I started working as a solo developer in 2011 then, which was the time when I started working on the first Blue Kid game and also started working on the kids games that are now running under the Winterworks Kids name. And since I've always been programming games since I was a kid. I received a Commodore 64 in the early 90s, I think, when I was about 12 years old. And I first played when I first played the first Turrican game. I don't know if anyone of you remembers the game. I was totally blown away by that game, and that was the moment where I said that for career-wise, I would like to become a game developer one day. And so this became true. And a couple of years later, I'm now running the Winterworks company, where I'm mainly still the only person in charge when it comes to the programming or the art stuff like that, game design. I've been working with some freelance artists over the years. Mainly one who is called Jan Ratje. Maybe I can convince him to become a guest on the next show. And he is doing all of the artwork for the kids games, or 90% of all the artwork is coming from Jan. That's why all of the kids games have a coherent look to them. And so to put it short, what I'm doing right now is I'm working on the kids games on the one side. That's the kind of product line, if you want to put it like that, that runs the company financial wise. And on the other side, I'm working on those retro themed real games like the Blue Kid game series. Yeah. And so my plan is to continue this, since I also have children of my own, and it's really funny to create games with your own kids, to see them testing the games, to get ideas from them. Or when you think about something and you think you know how a kid would play a certain type of game or a certain part of a game, and then you see it in reality how the kid really plays the game, then you quickly realize that you always need to test your ideas with a core audience. And that's a really fun process when you do it with your own kids. So that's why I'm still sticking to the kids games on the one side, and on the other side working on the classical games like the Turrican games or like the Blue Kid games. And so that's basically Winterworks in a nutshell, if you want to put it like that. And okay, I'll just check the chat. Oh, it's becoming quite crowded. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining. We're going to talk about for like an hour or so about stuff that comes to our mind, and or to my mind. And like I said, if someone has an idea, wants to know something, just write it in the chat, and we try to pick it up and talk about it. Yeah.
Maybe Jörg, you can tell us what inspired you to do Blue Kid and what inspired the character.
Okay. Yeah. So I think many of you might be familiar with the game. The game received mixed critics everywhere. One part of the reviews was very positive because of the not the setting in general, but how do you say it in English? the way it was created, or the playability of the game, because it is really it was praised for a solid platforming experience. And the other type of critics, they criticized that it was a blatant rip-off of any game that you have seen in the past, or of a lot of platforming games from the past. And the funny thing is that exactly that was my idea, because I have a lot of inspirations from games in the past, like, of course, the Super Mario games, Wonder Boy game series, games like Bubble Bobble, all this Taito type of games with those cute characters and the platforming action and the vibrant colors and stuff like that. So that was, of course, one of the main inspirations. But the game was indeed meant as an homage to all those games. It's not it's sometimes a bit of a parody sometimes, because a lot of stuff has been done over and over again in platforming games, and it's also done in Blue Kid. So it can be seen as part of a parody, but it's a love letter to all these 8-bit and 16-bit games that I've grown up with. And sometimes the inspirations are very clear, because you have names like the Altered Beast enemy, which is not a cute game, but it's a classic game where I borrowed the name from. You have the reference to the Wispy Woods Kirby end boss, stuff like that. The basic idea when I created the first part was it was a bit not inspired, but there were certain constraints to the game framework that I used to create the game. So that's why the first game does not have any scrolling levels. You have the one-screen levels, like in the Bubble Bobble games. And so since I was technically a bit limited and had to do the one-screen levels, then I immediately thought of the Bubble Bobble games. And I thought, okay, if I have to stick to one-screen levels, then we can do it like in Bubble Bobble, because I know it works there. So it's not a bad idea to do it this way. And so the scrolling just came in part 2 when I used another framework to create a game. But I'll talk about more of this later if you're interested in the technical side of things. But yeah, regarding the birth of the character, it was a mixture of I've always liked it when you have a name that somehow represents the characteristics of a character. So that's why he's named Blue, and he's got blue hair. But the blue hair also comes from the main hero of the Wonder Boy 5 game, which was originally released on the Sega Genesis, where you have a hero with blue hair. And this Wonder Boy 5 game is one of my absolutely favorite action RPGs from that era of the time. So that was basically the inspiration. And after I got the blue hair, then I came up with the name Blue because of the characteristic. And another inspiration, or another source of, or another thing that shaped the character was the fact that since I'm doing all of the stuff on my own, I'm programming, creating the levels, and creating the artwork. I always need to find a way where I can be efficient in the time that I put into it. So that's why I chose the very low pixel style. Nowadays you have pixel art games like, for example, Old Boy. They have a pixel look, but they have a quite higher resolution than Blue Kid has, for example, because the artist of Old Boy, he's an absolute genius. He's an absolute beast, and he creates artwork that knocks you off your socks. And so he's able to produce really huge artworks in reasonable time. But I'm not able to do this. That's why I chose to have very small characters and small levels and stuff like that. And so it was a mixture of inspirations from my childhood, from games that I played, and technical and time constraints. Yeah, because since I started the company, the funding for the company was some sort of governmental funding, because in Germany, when you don't have a job and you decide to start your own business, then you get a governmental funding for about 6 months, which is the same as your unemployed fees that you would receive, and you can try to start your company with that. So I knew back then it was 9 months for me. So I knew that I only had limited time before this needs to make some money. So I needed to focus on a really small game at first, and that's what Blue Kid 1 was all about. And the thing is that when Blue Kid 1 was released, nobody was really interested in the game. I clearly remember it that because I released the game shortly before my honeymoon, after my wedding, and the first 1 or 2 days I only spent in the lobby of the hotel just checking the download numbers. Yeah, instead of doing stuff with my wife on vacation, I was just checking the numbers, and then I realized that it does not really have a lot of downloads. But since it only took me 2 months to create the game in its first version, I quickly switched over after Blue Kid was not a success. I came up with the idea of the child games, and back then it was when the iOS App Store was really emerging. I noticed that there are nearly no games aimed at small children, but I constantly realized that people are willing to let their kids play games on their mobile phones or on their tablets. So I thought, what if I create games exactly for the type of audience, and where parents can see that they can safely let them play the games because there's no advertising in it and there is no content that's not suitable for them. It's tailored towards kids aged 2 or 3 or 4 years old. And so I created the first kids game, which is called Animals for Toddlers, in a weekend, and released it for free on the iOS store. And it was downloaded, I think, 10,000 times on one day without any marketing, without any social media or whatever. And then I thought, okay, it was released for free, by the way. And then I thought, okay, people download it for free. Is there any way to make money out of it? And then I came up with the idea that I took from the shareware games that were around in the 90s. When you had a PC at home, then there were a lot of games where you could receive the first part of the game for free, like getting the first out of 3 episodes, and you could copy it to your friends and spread the game. And if you wanted the full experience, you needed to buy the full version. It was, by the way, what the monetization model behind the games like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, and they were very successful with that approach. And so I took the same approach and made the app available for free, and you get 1 scene to play for free, and for the other scenes you have to pay a one-time payment to unlock the scenes. And this worked very, very well. And the funny thing is that I then tried the same approach for the Blue Kid 1 game, so that you get the first world for free, and you have to unlock the other worlds. And it did not work that well for Blue Kid.
How many worlds were? It was three worlds at first, right?
I think Blue Kid 1 released with, I don't really remember. I think it was 5 worlds in the first game. It's totally total 8 worlds now. It was 7 worlds afterwards, but I think it released with 5 worlds.
Really?
Or is it with? Yeah,
I'm not. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, maybe someone of our visitors knows it, because the guys and girls from our community, hi Elizabeth, they are very, very good at all the background information for Blue Kid. They know more things than I do about the games. The approach, the shareware type of approach did not work out for Blue Kid 1, and I did not know why. And I thought the last thing I could do is give away the whole game for free and put in advertising there. And there was, back then, most of the advertising were banner ads that were displayed during the gameplay. And there was one company who had the idea that you don't pay the developers just for displaying the ads, but they pay the developer if the user clicks on the link and really installs the game that is advertised for. Because the companies would pay more money for advertising when they know that their game really gets installed, which makes totally makes sense, instead of just displaying the ad. And so I implemented this advertising method into Blue Kid 1. And after the game became free, the downloads increased daily. and with that monetization model, the game really created a lot of money. So I had the steps just at first sell the game as a premium title, which did not work at all. Then do the shareware approach where you get part free and the rest you need to pay for. This did work a bit better, but not good enough. And then I decided to do it all for free with the advertising. And yeah, since this was 2011 or 2012, there were not so many Mario type clones in the App Store. And one thing that helped me a lot, I think, was the fact that I used Mario as a keyword, which is nowadays forbidden because you're not allowed to use any trademark word as keywords. But back then it was allowed. And if you want to have a game like Mario on the mobile phone, you search for Mario. And there was no Super Mario on mobile, so many people, downloaded Blue Kit, I think. And I think now the game has several million downloads by now. But of course, the monetization is not that good now because the money you get for the views or for the installs is decreasing daily because there are so many games out there and so many advertisers that you really need to have a lot of impressions to make a reasonable amount of money out of advertising. And I myself, I have never been such a great fan of making money with ads. I've always wanted that people buy the game because they like the game, and that I don't get money because I advertise for other companies for games that I would not play myself. So that's why I always like the approach that you directly sell your game. And so then I had, at first, Blue Kit did not work out well. I tried the kids games. They were very successful. Then I made Blue Kit 1 successful with the advertising. And then was the time to create Blue Kit 2. And since I was building my house at the moment, during the time I was creating Blue Kit 2, it really took a long time until the game was ready to be released. So in general, I think I put in maybe 8 months in total. If you put it all on one timeline, 8 months in total. But it was spread across maybe 1.5 or 2 years because of the house building stuff and other things. And so
that's 2014. Right?
Yeah, it was 2014 when Blue Kit 2 was first released. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me just check how many watchers we now have. Can you see this somewhere in Restream? No, I don't know. Can someone of you check this maybe on Twitch or on? I think the most viewers are on YouTube. Is that correct?
We have 6 people watching on YouTube.
Okay.
And I think the most
6 on Twitch.
Okay.
Most are on YouTube.
Jan Ratje. There he is. Hi, Jan.
Yeah.
We've been talking about you. The guy named Jan Ratje here, he is the one who creates all the graphics for the kids games. So Jan, I was talking about having you live on the next show if you want, because we're planning to do this show. Okay. We're planning to do the reason why I did not ask you for the first show was because I did not know how this will turn out technically, if this all works, and this is more or less a test run. But on the next show, you can join us. 14 people. Nice. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think both Blue Kit 1 and Blue Kit 2, they both have their pros and cons. I've read from people that they really like the one screen level approach. Other people say they like it better when a platform has scrolling levels. So it depends, of course, on your personal flavor. But
Blue Kit 1 is incredibly hard.
It becomes harder and harder the longer you play, or the better, with the later levels. The thing is, most of you will be familiar with the challenges in the Blue Kit game series. Okay, thank you, Maximiliano. Yeah, of course, I tried to add some replay value to the game by introducing the star challenges. And I admit that for Blue Kit 1, it's a bit difficult because later on you need to get the stars to unlock the later levels. So it can get frustrating if you want to move on and play the game, but you don't have enough stars. And you have to replay the game in order to proceed. But this is something that I'm going to address with the next game in the series. And so, yeah, I don't know how many of you are also part of the Discord community. But if you are not, then you're welcome to join our Discord server. Maybe one of you could post a link, the invitation link. One of the main reasons for this stream was not just that Anna and Abdu and Toby convinced me to do it, but since we're trying to build a community and get in touch with the fans. Ah, yes, Maxi. Okay, now I get it. All right, and I try to be quite active on the community when it comes to chatting, but I don't always have the time. But now when we're going to do a scheduled live stream once a week, then there is a dedicated place where we can interact. But nevertheless, thank you, Abdu. You can join Discord, and if you have any requests or things that you want us to talk about on the live streams, you can drop us a line on Discord, and we can pick it up the next time. Yeah. So is CS1 also here, the guy who creates the artwork? I don't know if you have seen the developer tips with the very nice artwork, but chances are he's not watching at the moment. Okay, maybe he'll join later.
Yeah, maybe you can give us an insight on how we started with the developer tips project.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I need to address first what exactly your role is here at Winterworks. So, I have a cooperation running with the Digital Career Institute in Germany, which is you can study what's the correct name? Is it just online marketing or is it another name?
Online marketing, yeah.
Yeah. So they're studying online marketing. They're doing all stuff, social media stuff, advertising stuff, video creation, content creation, whatever is needed for online marketing, analytics, and all of this. And they are helping me. Since they are still students and learning all of these things, they wanted to get in touch with companies where they can put all of their knowledge into practice. And so I was very lucky that the cooperation came to be, and I have now the 3 students. Sorry, Toby, do I need to put you online? Yeah, better. Okay, so here's Toby again. And yeah, and they are helping me out a lot with all of these social media postings, creating videos and trailers for the games, interacting with the community, creating live streams, telling me all the time that we need to do a live stream until I finally agreed to do it. And yeah, so unfortunately, this will only last for a couple of months, then your course is finished so far. But we will try to stay in contact, and I hope you will see them every now and then on the stream as well. Hi, Francesco. So, Abdu, what was the question again? Sorry.
Maybe give us an insight about the developer tips project.
Exactly.
And how it came to be.
Okay. Yeah, and so since they are taking care of the social media stuff, we made some brainstorming sessions and thought about what could we do to increase the content output on our channels. Because like most of you know, you need to have continuous output to be recognized on social media. And so we came up with the idea that we could yeah, we needed to find something where everyone can input stuff. And my input was that I said there are a lot of things that I have learned as a game developer when it comes to designing games or programming games or whatever, or testing games, that is important for a certain type of game, or that I find is important for games. And maybe we could bring this into a form where people could benefit from that knowledge. And so you guys had the idea that we could do regular posts using this developer tips. And then we found someone in the community who was always creating Blue Kit fan artwork, which is very, very nice. I can tell you there's no better reward when you create something than when there's a fan who does some fan artwork or music cover or whatever of your work. This is one of the most heart-touching things that can happen to you when you create something, that you see that people like your stuff and they play around with it and bring in their own style or evolve on it, and you just see that you have reached someone with your work. And so this is what happened to the guy, and he created the artwork that you can see on our social media channels. And at first it was just random stuff. He's a very talented artist, and he creates a lot of scribbles and artworks for other games as well, but also for the Blue Kit game series. And so we came up with the idea that we could ask him if he would be able to provide artworks for those developer tips. If we just give him some random keywords, what this dev tip is about, and he comes up with the idea how to display them in a graphical form. And he's doing a really great job because we don't make any we don't make him any, what's the word, Vorgaben? Any, no. We don't do scribbles for him or tell him what exactly he has to do. We just say him what the dev tip is about, and then he comes up with an idea that most of the time totally nails it, what this tip is about. Like I like the one with the shortcut after the secret, where Blue comes out of the tunnel and has the flower on his head and stuff like that. It totally nails the meaning of the developer tip. And yeah, that's how this came to be. So we created, I came up with the ideas that are important to game design, in my opinion. The team, it was mostly, it's Anna's job to write the description for the dev tip, what it's all about. And then she talked to the guy to create the artwork. It's a bit of back and forth, but most of the time it's a very, very streamlined process. I don't have to interact that much. And in the end, we have the developer tips that we can share with the world, and hope to help other developers at least get some inspiration on certain aspects of game design. And if you guys, if you're watching this and you have any ideas about any things that you have noticed in games, maybe that you think makes this game playable, and I'm not talking about a specific theme or setting or something, but a mechanic, like I don't know if you followed the developer tips, but it's stuff like what I mentioned. When you find a secret, that you can take a shortcut to get back on the main track and don't have to backtrack the route, or things like always give a small hint when there's a secret around, so that people can notice the hint and then they can start looking for secrets, something like that. If you have any ideas, just tell us, then maybe we can create a nice developer artwork featuring Blue doing this. Yeah. Okay. So any questions so far?
I think there was a question about marketing for mobile games.
Okay.
It's already some time ago.
Ah, okay.
I think Rainer asked that. You know, okay. Rainer.
Ah, Rainer, hi. Yes, the one and only awfully nice Rainer. Well, in general, I think nowadays every mobile developer might know this, but it does not get easier. It gets harder every day, because there's a hell of a competition in the app stores. And I don't have the numbers, but the number of games that are downloaded every day is enormous, and the number of new games that are created every day or that are released on the App Store is also very high. I think it's a 4-digit number of games that is released every day on the App Store. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Thank you. We have been doing the tests regarding to marketing. So what I said in the beginning when I chose the keyword for BlueKit, since I'm a company consisting only of a single person and I'm not a big company and I don't have really big budgets for marketing or whatsoever, I had to came up with unconventional ideas of how people can find your game, because I don't have the money to run marketing campaigns for thousands of dollars every week, which is what the big companies are doing. When you play a mobile game, you get hundreds of advertising for all types of games. And for those big companies, they are just doing the calculations. They know how much money they need to put in to get a new user, and they know how many money the new user in average will spend in the game. And as long as they need to spend less than they get from this user, they invest into marketing, into advertising. But that's not what I'm doing. I've been experimenting with this every now and then. We have run, together with the DCI students, we've run Facebook advertising campaigns and Google advertising campaigns. But they had nearly no effect at all on the download numbers. So what I was doing was the thing that I mentioned with the Mario keyword, for example. I've always been thinking about if people want to play a game like the one I have created, what are they going to search for in the App Store? There's this one approach where people just take keywords of things that are currently trendy, like Disney's Frozen or whatever, and put this as a keyword because they know people are searching for Frozen. But the thing is that people searching for Frozen, they might find your app, but they are not going to install it because it's not Frozen. So it does not make sense to use keywords that work for other games when they are tailored exactly for that game. It was a bit different with the Mario keyword because it was people were looking for Mario and they found a Mario-like game, and it was okay for them because there was no real Mario. But if you search for Frozen, you get a lot of Disney Frozen apps and official apps, I assume. And if you find a game that has nothing to do with the Disney movie, then people are not going to install it. There on my website, I need to check it myself because I don't know if the articles are still online, but there was a time, so around between 2011 and 2015, where I wrote regular blog posts about all of this mobile marketing stuff and things that I've done in the past and things I have tried in the past and what have worked and what not. But this information is a few years old now, so I'm not sure if it's still relevant. But if you visit the Winterworks website, I'll check it later if you're still able to read the old blog post. But I think you are if you visit winterworks.de and go to the blog section, you might find all of my information that I posted years ago.
Yeah, however, it's pretty likely that that a lot has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Ja, Schnitzel, geil. Bin dabei. Okay.
We have a question from Jack Burton.
Yeah.
Do you have dedicated influencers playing your games even without getting paid?
Yeah, not yet. So we are, or the DCI students came up with the idea that we should contact people on Instagram, provide them with download codes for the games, and hope that they play the games and that they get a bit of more visibility. But we don't have influencers directly that we talk to each time. We're trying to build this up because I think this could work and this is quite important. One thing that you can always do is that when you have a game that is similar to your game, then you can just Google this game and check out which website wrote a review about this game, which YouTube streamer played this type of game, and then try to contact them. Because one thing that I did in the past and that really worked out was, I don't know if someone of you is still familiar with the Amazon Underground program. And since Amazon has an own Android app store, they had a program called Underground for quite some time, which was an app that you installed on your phone, an Amazon app, and the Underground had its own app store, and developers could take part in the Underground program and say that their paid app is available for free when users install it using the Underground app from Amazon. And the monetization model was that the users don't need to pay the games, and the developers get paid by Amazon for the amount of time that people play the game, which is, in my opinion, one of the best monetization models ever for games, because when someone likes your game, he's going to play it a lot. And when he plays it a lot, you get paid a lot, which is a dream come true for developers. But it turned out that it was quite a failure for Amazon because they shut down the service 1 or 2 years later. But when it started, the thing I did was I was just browsing LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, and I was searching for people who are in certain positions at Amazon. I was looking for who is the head of business development, Amazon App Store Germany or whatever. And I was checking if they have a Twitter account or if they have a LinkedIn account. And then I just contacted them and said, listen, I'm a game developer. I created the game. I would like to maybe get featured on the App Store and stuff like that. And for the Amazon Underground program, this really worked. And they picked up Look It 2 and featured it on the store. And you could download the game on the Amazon Fire TV, because it's just an Android console, and you can play the games with your remote controller. But there are also gamepads available for Android and stuff like that. And so after Blue Kit 2 was released, it was not that successful like the previous game on the mobile stores. And after I discovered the Amazon Underground program, I released the game on Amazon as well, and it was very successful there. So the people played the game in total for thousands of hours every month, and since you got paid for the usage time, it made quite a lot of money during the time. And so, yeah, what I was going to do was to say was that just think of people in certain positions that might be interesting for a corporation. Of course, you need to be a bit careful. You cannot write an email to Bill Gates and say, please feature me on the Windows Store. But okay, Windows Store.
You can.
It's history. You can. Yes, you could. Yeah. But you could also spend your time otherwise. And yeah. But yeah, like I said, for the Amazon Underground program, this worked out quite well. And for other websites, like, for example, I think it was Stefan's idea back then, there's a website called Touch Arcade, which is a review site for mobile games. And they, like the name suggests, they mainly review arcade games or classical games on mobile, not your typical pay-to-win, free-to-play game. And we just contacted them, and they wrote a nice review about the game. And I'm not sure if this had a great impact on the download numbers, but one benefit is that one of the editors, the one who reviewed the game, he became a fan of the game, and he's still with Touch Arcade. And now I have a personal contact at the review site. So when I put out a new game that could fit on the website, I just drop him a line, and he remembers me from Blue Kit 2, and then chances, are very high that they're going to review the game in the future.
Yeah, actually, he had it in his top 10 of the year back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I know that these people are getting hundreds of emails every day. So you might have to think of a more creative way to contact them. Like, not using the contact formula on the website, because I think 99% of this gets filtered away before it reaches the person. But maybe tag him in a tweet or in an Instagram post, or maybe find a discussion where this person is in and contribute to this online discussion, stuff like that. Don't start stalking the people, but yeah, try to get in contact with them somehow.
So, Jörg, since we are getting to the end of our session, people might know that Blue Kit 3 is happening. So,
Yeah.
what can you tell us about that?
Okay, so yeah, the announcement that the game is in the works is quite old by now, and the reason behind this is that I first started working on the game in the end of 2019, I think, when my company received a governmental funding, because it's the first time that we have a great game funding in Germany. There were also there were already small fundings in certain local areas in Germany, but not in Germany as a whole. But since 2019, we have there are, I think, 50 million euros at the time were available for all game developers in Germany, and you could apply for a funding, and this is what I did. And so I started working on the game, and since there are gonna be a lot of changes to the technical side and also to the art style and stuff like that to the game. But gameplay wise, I'm trying to combine the best of both two Blue Kit games. And the reason why this is taking so long is that one thing is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the work on the project did not really go on as planned. So we did not finish the stuff as we wanted it during the time, or as it was planned. And the governmental funding was running for 13 months, but it was cut down to 11 months. So the initial plan that was laid out for 13 months of content had to be done in 11 months. And then due to the pandemic, we didn't find time to work on it all full time. And so at the end of the funding period, the result was not the finished game, but I would call it a high definition prototype. And so yeah, Stefan is laughing. He has played it already. And the thing is that we have proof of concept for all the basic ideas that we had. We have an art style that is, I would say, 80 to 90% finished. I'm going to overwork this a bit in the coming days. So maybe next week I can present you the final art style. There are already some screenshots out there where you can get a good idea of what the game is going to look like. But there are still some minor changes. I'm going to address these in a few minutes if we have some more time. But what I wanted to say about the whole planning of the game is that now that we have the prototype, or what I call the HD prototype, I'm going to take one step back and analyze what has happened during the year, what's good from a technical point of view, because some of you might know that for Blue Kit 3, we are not using any kind of appropriate engine. We're not using Unity, we're not using GameMaker, we're not using any kind of framework that we've been using in the past for our past games, but all the technology is basically created from scratch for the game. It's not directly from scratch. We have taken parts of the Blue Kit 2 game engine and made something new with that. And now at the end of the prototype stage, we're going to do this again. So I'm going to take the things from the prototype that already work and put this into the final form, if you wanted to put like that. And so unfortunately, the game won't be finished this year, I assume, because there's really a lot of things to do. But I hope that the technology I'm building will be a good foundation for upcoming games. So, because the funny thing is, I've created, yeah, I have never created two games with the same technology in the past. So Blue Kit 1 was created with a different technology than Blue Kit 2. Blue Kit 2 has another technology than the kids games have, and Blue Kit 3 will have already still another technology. But after this, I hope that I can stick to my own technology and use this for many, many titles in the future. And there is a lot of work that's going into the tools and all the stuff that's around the game development. Like I want to have an in-game level editor as well as I don't know if you're how technically trained the watchers are, but there was it was maybe a year ago where I posted a screenshot that we have that the technology I've created is able to let the game run, and without ending the game, you can change the game code, and the logic gets reloaded while the game is running. So I don't know if there are any game developers here, but this is a feature that is very valuable because you don't have to end the game, program something, and then restart the game, but you can keep on programming while the game is running. So you have basically no turnaround times for new features. Of course, there are some limitations to this technology, but for the main part of the game, it's just like when you have a scripting language, except that the scripting language is your programming language. So from a technical side of things, this is I would call it quite advanced. It's not absolutely complicated to do things like that, but it's not very common because you need to design your technology from the ground up to feature this mechanic, and so it's hard to implement this in an existing engine. But since I've started from scratch, I was able to do it this way, and this really helps me to create content faster. And like I said, I take the prototype, I'm improving on this, and hopefully next week I can showcase you the final art style of the game. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Jörg.
Any more questions, maybe from our audience? Okay. What I said before, when it comes to the art style, the current screenshots, when you look at them, you can still see that the game has really a tile-based approach. All the trees are straight, and you can see the bushes that they have diagonal lines and parallel lines, and you can really see the old school 8-bit tile style of the graphics, which on the one side is nice in my opinion, because I like this kind of look from the games back then, but it's also a technical limitation, and I want to have the game to feature a more organic look and a more natural look. So not every tree needs to be straight lined. You can have objects that are not made out of tiles and stuff like that. And you can also see it on the screenshots where you can see the house in the background. So I don't know if you know what I mean, but when I look at the pictures, I can clearly see the grid of tiles where the artwork is placed on. And I want to break this up a bit in the final look, so it looks a bit more natural. This is one of the things that I will address with the new art style. Then there's something I'm going to play around with the colors a bit. I'm also hoping to implement an effect that's called color grading. You won't see this on the screenshots, but that's, you know it from today's games, that when you enter a house, then everything gets a bit darker, not just because of the lighting, but because of the whole color situation. Colors are more saturated when you're outside and are more pale when you're inside, or when you have a direct sunlight, you get blended. It blends a bit, that everything is more brighter and stuff like that. You can also include this into a 2D game, and this looks very nice. So just think of when you enter the desert stages for Blue Kit, because of course there will be references to the existing stages, and but all the objects in the desert world will have a bit of a different coloring, because you have a different lighting atmosphere in there. This is something I would like to have in the game as well. Yeah.
So Kenneth has a question. When is the next stream? And is there gonna be more streams? Was asked from Max.
Yes, so the plan was that we have regular streams on Tuesday at 16 o'clock.
Central European time.
Central European time. Of course, you can. I hope you can watch all the streams offline later, in case you've missed something. But yeah, for the time being, we're planning to do them on a weekly basis. Yeah. Yeah, of course, it will have beautiful worlds. And one thing I can say for sure about the game, I've already mentioned this in the chat, is we're going away from the idea of that you have to scroll through a list of level numbers and pick the level you want to play, but there is going to be some sort of a hub world, which is a big level or a set of levels that are coherent and where you can enter into the single levels through some kind of doors or something. So you don't pick it through a menu which level you want to play, and you don't have your typical map like in Super Mario World, where you move on the map to select the level, but you play in a world where you can enter the level through different exits in the hub level. So this should give it a more, that's why also why the game is called Super Blue Kid Adventure, because it has more of an action adventure approach than the original games.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it means, yeah, like I said, that you don't pick levels one by one, but it's like a bit like Mario 64, yeah, but in 2D, exactly. So you have a main world that consists of different areas, and in each area, like the pictures that you can jump in Mario, you can enter through doors into small single-sized levels, and when you finish the level, you leave the level and you come back to the main world again. And there will also be secrets that are hidden in the main world. There are things, I'm not going to call it a Metroidvania because that's not going to be it, but it goes a bit into the direction so that you need to finish the small single levels in order to advance in the main hub world. Yeah, I hope this answers the question a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, at least for you. Good. Yes, of course. Yeah, I think some of you might have noticed the shelves in the house screenshots. And yeah, the idea is that there will be, on the one side, there will be, yes, DuckTales, I don't remember exactly. Yeah, but like in the latest Zelda game, the Link to the Past remake for the Switch, you can find small figurines of the characters in the world everywhere, and then you can go in the house and have a look at your collection, something like that. Of course, there will be things you need to collect in order to progress in the game world. There will be different skills that you can acquire, and there will be items that you can collect and that you can use. Like think of a health potion or something like that. And then there will be collectibles that don't have to do exactly with the game itself or with the progress of the game, but yeah, if you're a collector or a completionist, there will be a lot of things that you can discover in the game. The Snow World, yeah, I'm not sure at the moment what the global scope of the game is going to be. Of course, it will be at least as long as Blue Kid 2 when it comes to the time that you need to finish it. Ja, Rainer, mach's gut. Danke, bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao. And the plan is that, first of all, yes, there will be different worlds, but they won't be as hard separated from each other than in the games before. Because in Blue Kid 2, you have the one cutscene where you have one half of the screen is the desert world and the next half is the zombie world, and you have the direct cut between the worlds. I don't want to do this anymore, because in reality, it's not that you leave your town and suddenly it's snowing, and when you go back, it does not snow. There will be a sort of transition between the different settings. But each world in itself will have the same size as the other worlds. So it's not that the ice world will be 3 times the size as the desert world, but they will be about the same size. And a trailer, I think it might take some time until we see the trailer, because there's still a lot of things well, yeah, I want to put in. And I am someone who's to give you an example, when I worked on the Hurricane game, when it came to me, then it would have taken another year until the game was released. But my friend Turi, who worked on the graphics, he said, come on, just stop working on the game, release it already. We can do patches later. But I'm someone who wants to make everything perfect, especially when it comes to a trailer, when it's a reveal trailer where people might see the game for the very first time. I want to have the best impression. So I want to have most of the visual effects I want in the game at the end. They should also be visible in the trailer. So that's the reason why it would take some time until I do the reveal trailer. Of course, we will post small snippets from the game, from gameplay elements like we already did on the Discord server. So you can follow the game and the progress and the development. But a real trailer and sort of an announcement trailer, this will take quite some time. Yes, at the moment I'm working solely on the game, and my plan is to keep working on the game as a solo developer. Because it's not that I'm the only one who's able to create this kind of game, but it's just that I am quite impatient when it comes to working on a game. So when I need to wait for a certain feature because someone else has to implement it, then I can get really impatient. When I have an idea, I want to sit down and bring it to code and see the results immediately. And the same goes for the art and the music stuff. And besides that, I absolutely love doing the music. So even though if Chris Hülsbeck or whoever or any famous musician would want to create the music, I would not let him do it because I want to create the music myself. And this goes for all of the things in the game. The soundtrack. It's the same for the soundtrack as with the art style. I have about 80% in mind what the soundtrack is going to be, and you've also already heard some excerpts in the one of the short trailers that we already did, and but there are still some things that are going to change on the soundtrack. It will have, of course, some sort of chiptune nature again, and I'm not quite sure if I want to make it 100% chiptune or if I want to take some real instruments in there, because there was one review in particular where someone really analyzed the soundtrack and said, "Wow, look, it's not your typical chiptune soundtrack. And look, it also has some live sort of instruments. Like in the desert world, you have this guitar type of thing, and this fits quite well. But yeah, I would also love to create a 100% chiptune soundtrack. I'm not still sure about that. The thing is, one guy mentioned that when you have the look of Look It Through at the moment, that looks more like a 16-bit type of game instead of an 8-bit type of game, you would also expect it to have a more advanced type of music and not only a chiptune music. But like Stefan said, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, you can have an Italo Western with chiptune music if it fits. It could make sense. So you don't have you don't need to make the soundtrack exactly fit the visuals in terms of the era that it portrays.
So, Jörg, maybe we can wrap it up and leave some more talk in the next week.
Exactly.
When you have more screenshots about so we can answer more questions. So Maxim will ask about the secret areas and stuff and the music. So maybe we can have a better picture next week.
All right, so feel free to ask questions on Discord, so we can pick it up for the next time. And thank you very much for watching. And thank you for being my guests. I hope to see you all again next week. And yeah, don't forget to join Discord. All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.